please rise for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dave, do you have any questions on attendance?
Nope.
Do we have any additions or corrections to the board agenda?
I had one change. The person who had signed up for open forum is no longer able to make it to the meeting, so I've crossed that off in black. And then I added some Jaguar Pride items today as well. Otherwise, the agenda is the same.
All right, so we have an agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is open forum. Rules for open forum. There are 3 minutes per speaker. Open forum shall not take more than a total of 15 minutes. There are no complaints about individual staff members, about students, or about other persons permitted. All presenters will conduct their business in a manner that meets community standards for decorum. The board will not take action on items presented in open forum. Does anybody wish to speak during open forum? No takers? We will continue on. Next up is the consent agenda. Does anyone need anything pulled from the consent agenda placed later in the agenda for further discussion? Brian, did you change anything or add anything to consent agenda?
It is all the same.
I am looking for a motion then to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the bills. If you have any questions on the bills, please state the bill number and the page number. Does anybody have any questions on the bills? If there are no questions on the bills, I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make them.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. First up for reports is superintendent's report. Mr. Masterson.
Thank you. Mine is short tonight. Really, I just wanted to hit on a couple things to invite the board on. Just a reminder, please check your committee group meetings. We are going to get a teaching and learning committee meeting also scheduled here this month, and then I will email out to the commodities committee what day that will happen. But there's 2 events coming up that board members should put on their calendars. If you haven't already, the first is this week, which is number 4. The Senior Awards Banquet is this Wednesday. It starts at 6 p.m. All board members are invited. It's the best night of the school year where the community comes together, supports our seniors, one of the best nights. And the generosity of our community towards our seniors is amazing. And then our typical end of the year breakfast, which is the last day for staff on June 6th. We'll start with breakfast at 7:15 in the morning, and then at 7:45 we do a short program, do some recognizing of our staff who are retiring, as well as give away some awards to staff members and honor years of service, things like that. So please let me know if you're able to make those 2 things, but that's all I had to report on this month in my report.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Masterson regarding his report?
I do have a question regarding the enrollment. We had a net loss of, what was it, 11 students from April 1 to
Toby,
May
we
1?
can talk about enrollment when we get down to enrollment later in the agenda. That's
Okay.
not on Mr. Masterson's report. We're going to move on to the high school principal's report. Mr. Lattimore.
Good evening, thank you. Just a hiring update, we're still currently looking for some EBD sped positions at the high school and SLD math for next year. One thing that I'd like the board to take action on is J. Crew Day. again, going with that first day of school, looking to have 7th through 9th graders come in, do some building, both for 7th and 8th grade. And also this year kind of making 9th grade a little bit more individualized to help with their success as they start their high school career. We're looking at some goal setting, potential speaker coming in, and then just going through some of the processes that will make them successful for being high schoolers where credit counts. So we're looking for that. I'm looking for that tonight. Mr. Hickle, you asked about some behavior data last month. I was able to pull some of that as well. So as we can see, our last month from April 6th to May 6th, what you see there in that is our referral data. 91% of our students got a 0 or 1 referral for the month. We had 2 to 5, it was 7%, and over 6 were 2%. And really what the Minnesota MTSS framework wants you to kind of shoot for is that 85-10-5 type area. So when you look at the month over the last month, you can see that a lot of our students are doing well, getting where they need to be, doing what they need to do, and getting what they need out of it. So that was that piece there. I did pull some data from the last year-over-year comparison. So the blue is last year and the orange is this year. And as you can see, as we look at the overall picture, which is the top one, that is what we have year over year. And then the bottom one is just our general education students. So these are students who are not receiving any special education services in their day. So those are some of the data that I pulled for year over year. We have some dates for seniors here coming up. Graduation is May 30th. We're just over 2 weeks away from graduation here. So those are some of the things we'll be doing that day. A lot of things going on. Baccalaureate is May 28th here. We were able to get a hold of a local pastor, so they will be doing baccalaureate here in the FAC on May 28th. And then we'll have the cap and gowns, fines need to be paid by the 30th. We are having our 7th grade orientation here this week. We're having the 6th graders come over for a short period of time. They will eat lunch with our, in between we've got about a half hour in between when first lunch and second lunch eats. We're gonna invite them over during that time to kind of see how the lunch line works over here, how we process through there. We'll then have like activities tables set up during that time so students can go explore and see some of the different opportunities they have, whether it be activities, athletics, stuff like that. We'll bring them together into the FAC, where we'll have a presentation by myself, by Ms. Hartle, what that'll look like for registration, and then the other Ms. Hartle, for activities, so they know what is available for them as 7th graders. As we know, as they move into this school, they get a little bit more choice of what they can do. So we'll be doing that, and then we'll end the day for them. We have 6 MHS students who will be taking 3 groups on tours of the school, so they can see the 4th floor, see the different places they need to go, just so they can kind of get a little bit comfortable here as we bring them in, because it is a whole new world. So we'll be bringing them in on the 15th, this Thursday. Summer band will be up and running by Ms. Schutte. They plan to practice on those dates, and then they will be playing performance dates will be July 4th in Finlayson, and Hinckley Corn and Clover Parade on July 19th. And you can kind of see the correction I made as I got Memorial Day wrong, so it's the 26th, not the 27th, so that was the correction there. But those are the big things coming up here. You see, I did have it wrong in mine too, so it was 7 o'clock, not 7:30, so that's probably where you saw it, so that's my fault. So as we got going on here, 16th, hopefully we will have our yearbook signing. We've got a day game for the East Central is coming down here, so we'll be having a baseball game and having yearbook signing then. And then last day of school for our seniors is the 30th, and the 5th for the rest of our students. It's a busy month.
All right, before we go to Nyla, because she's here and waiting,
Yep.
Mr. Lattimore is looking for a motion to approve his J Crew Day for 7th through 9th graders.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I have some discussion.
Yes.
So upperclassmen, it's optional for them to come on JAG Day, is that right, the first day of school?
So they will not be coming that day. It'll be 10th through 12th graders will have that day flexed for them.
So in the JAG Crew description under sub-paragraph 4, it says upperclassmen come to support students as leaders. Is that just something they can do on their own if they want to? Or what is that reference?
Well, we hope to have some upper class role models coming in to help throughout the day. It could be MHS, it could be some others that would be there to help in a supporting role. So we're still finalizing those plans, but that's what we're looking for.
Okay. Well, one of the concerns I have is our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders are missing a day of school. And then looking at specifically our 12th graders, they finish on what, May 30th, which is a few days before the rest of the school finishes. Is that June 5th is the last day for the
June
rest?
5th, yeah, they go 4 less days.
4 less days on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
They miss 1 day on the front end. I just feel that's a little concerning. Are there other school districts that this is modeled after?
One that I know of is North Branch. They have a 9th grade, it's Academy Day that they call it,
Okay.
where they have 9th graders come in and they go through kind of the same setup that we have as well, where we have, and I think they call it 9th grade Academy, I believe is what they call it. So they do have students come, the 9th graders come in that day, so they can kind of get a feel of the land, see where they go, kind of go class to class, how they do things. So, and then they have some of that stuff coming in as well, where they have some upperclassmen that will help during that time.
Okay. So North Branch, the seniors lose a day on the front end, like we're proposing.
Mm-hmm.
But I see here on their website, it shows that North Branch, they graduate on June 7th and their last day of school is June 5th, K through 12. So they're not losing 4 days on the back end, but we are. And I see that very concerning in light of our poor test scores. Is there anything that we can do to have more academic focus or take it up a level academically for our kids to maybe hopefully stem that enrollment decline?
Are you talking about on the front end or the back end? I know.
For sure, I don't support the JAG Day on the front end, but I mean, if you have to have it, then let's look on the back end. I mean, what are our options so that we can let people in the school district know that we are serious about academics here, because we are competing with our neighboring school districts, East Central, Pine City, and Mora. And I called them today. Mora says everybody is at school on the first day. Pine City said everybody's at school on the first day, K through 12. East Central, everybody's at school on the first day, K through 12. I even went beyond East Central. I went up to Willow River, because I do see that we do have, we're losing students to even Willow River, and they say everybody comes to school on the first day, K through 12. These 4 schools really truly are our competition, and we have a serious problem with enrollment decline, and I feel like we have to do something a little different, in my opinion. And I feel like we have to demonstrate to the parents that we take academics seriously, and we are competing with our neighbors. And I feel like by letting our seniors have the last 4 days off and take the first day off, we're just waving a white flag, in my opinion, to our neighbors who are taking their academics more seriously. And the school that we model this after, North Branch, even they are beating us, because their seniors graduate the same as kindergarten, K through 12 in North Branch. They graduate on June 5th, but we let our seniors out 4 days earlier. And I feel like we're not doing a service to our seniors and preparing them as adequately as we could for college or life. And I would like to respectfully ask that we come up with other options, either on the front end, back end, or maybe both.
The school,
Go ahead.
the school board already approved the school calendar for next year, which had in there the seniors' last day. I don't remember what it is next year, but similar to this year, 4 or 5 days before, and already had approved what day graduation would be on. When I have surveyed people about why they've left, no one has mentioned JAG Crew Day or seniors being done early. Seniors being done early is a very long-standing tradition here, not that it can't be changed, but that part we'd have to go back to our calendar if the board wants to do that, to change our calendar. But that part has been approved by the school board as far as seniors' last day and when graduation is. And then I just would add, there were other schools last year when we were doing this, the board may recall that we modeled this after. I can't remember them all now, I could go back and find that data, but last year's principal and MTSS coordinator pulled a lot of that data and did some comparisons. So it's not just North Branch that we had modeled it after, but as far as people leaving, the board had asked me last summer to ask about our calendar, and no one had said there was calendar issues for at least reasons they were leaving.
I only want to touch on the front end, Toby. I'm not sure about the back end, or if we've already approved our calendar. But I believe we have higher behaviors in 7th through 9th than some of our neighboring districts. And I think this was a way for us to combat or to try to get them together in a space where they could go through some more individualized conversations, because we have such a jump from our 6th grade to our 7th grade in behaviors, in tardies, in absentees, in all the things. So that's what I remember from last year. Some of it is on our agenda, but that's where I would just like to speak out and say that if it helps those kids, sets them up for a year, I think it's a good idea.
I'm looking at the chart that the principal provided, the top chart there. It looks to me like the behaviors have increased, and I don't see any evidence or data that suggests that JAG Day is decreasing behaviors. Most months look like they're higher in the orange compared to the blue, which is last year. It looks to me like almost every month, with the exception of maybe 2 months.
I'm guessing some of that might be how Miss Hankey did the tracking and how the referrals are being tracked this year. I believe, if I've seen some emails, the emphasis of like really tracking those behaviors to identify those trends, like where can we provide more support, like the time. So maybe, I don't know, I'm not here, but I'm saying it really could be just the amount of tracking we're asking our teachers and our staff to do versus what was done previously. And when we talk about the focus on academics, with us being able to prepare our junior high kids behaviorally, it allows us to give more focus to academics throughout the year, is the hope. I'm maybe speaking for you. That was my, what I remember hearing last year when this was being facilitated or talked through.
I'm also thinking that culturally in rural Minnesota, the expectation is that K through 12 goes to school on the first day, just by evidence of all of our neighboring school districts, K through 12, they go on the first day, but we're the exception. But yet, we're also the same school that has the most severe enrollment decline problem than any other school, any of our neighboring schools. And I feel like, if I was a parent, I'd feel like we're not offering academics, especially looking at our upperclassmen, and ask them to stay home. To me, that just sends the wrong message. if nothing else, it sends the wrong message. And I feel like if we continue with this, if we're gonna continue to have enrollment declines, in my opinion. I hope not, but I just don't see how the tide is gonna stem. And in light of what our neighbors are doing, I feel it's a cultural thing. Rural Minnesota, K through 12, everybody reports first day. And I think we're trying to model ourselves after a bigger school, which is closer to the cities. And, you know, even taking a deep look at that with North Branch as the example, they have the same last day of school, seniors as kindergarten, but we let our kids out early. And I just feel like, how do we, that face-to-face time with students and teachers is critical. Isn't that important? If it is, then why aren't we pressing to have more class time hours during the school year? And I see time at the back of the year and time, at least that JAG day, the first day. And as a school board member, I just feel like I'm not happy with the tone we're setting and the message we're sending to our parents of our students.
Toby, have you received any complaints regarding JAG Day? Or
No, I haven't, but I don't feel we receive a whole lot of feedback in general about any topic. I mean, you'll see in the audience, we do have 2 parents I see here, or 2 people in attendance, but typically, we don't receive a lot of feedback. And
I will say that I do, just like out in the community, like out at sporting events, out at different things, like I feel like people approach me about things. I haven't heard anything negative about JAG Day. I've only heard positives. And as far as like North Branch, I feel like if you're gonna compare our starting day and our end day to their start and end day, I think then you also need to compare the full calendar, because they may be getting days off during the school year that we are in school. So I think that needs to be looked at. I don't think we need to waste our time in doing that. And also, we are Hinckley-Finlayson. We are not Pine City, we are not East Central. We need to do what we feel is best for the students here. And if JAG Day helps that, even with the teachers that I've talked to, they have felt like it has been beneficial. You're just setting up those 7th graders for success. And having a 7th grader this year that was super anxious of coming into the high school, just knowing that first day was geared for them, and knowing that you're gonna walk into the lunchroom and you're gonna have a place to sit that first day at lunch, that's scary. So I think if we can like help one kid feel better about walking into school their first day of 7th grade, that's enough for me as a board member.
Janelle, did you have something to say?
I was just gonna, well, Heather addressed it, I was just gonna ask if there's been any other community feedback. Either way, in support, not in support.
I've received none.
I know we look at it as a lost day, but I think it's like an opportunity though too. Like this is a selling point that we could have moving forward, like to get people here. Hey, we respect and we want our young people here in the school to be successful. Come here, we'll show you how to do it. Then you start your day off on that way. I mean, there's obviously different ways that it can be, that we can like advertise that for enrollment purposes, so.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second.
I have a question. Brian, how many total student days do we have?
171. And minimum for high school is 165.
So with early release, that's just counted as a full day, right?
We also have to count hours. That day's counted less. The hour, I can't remember the state requirement on hours, but we're over that as well.
Right.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
We'll do roll call, Dave. Leo,
Yes.
Janelle,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Toby,
No.
Angela, Jody, yes. Motion passes.
One other thing that I was gonna say, so oftentimes you don't know outcomes that first year. You know, you need to do it a couple of years to see what are those outcomes going to be. So this upcoming year, see how that works. Your new principal this year, doing a good job, got a lot on your plate, but, something that we need to keep in mind and track, or if there's something that can be done for those upperclassmen, whether it's something virtual or something like that for in the future. That transition to me is a big deal, especially for those 7th graders.
Well, I think when we look at like the vast majority of our students too, right, what we're seeing is our sophomores, right? Because if our juniors and seniors are excelling, they're gonna be looking at PSEO or some other college type systems as well. So the effect on those grades might not be as severe as the sophomores, so the 10th graders.
Thank you, Mr. Lattimore.
So I do have a big thank you to both of our student school board members. Lainey again had a softball game today. I'm sure she's beat, so she's not here today. But a big thank you to Lainey Johnson for all of her hard work this year. And even though I make Nyla get up from her afternoon nap to come here once a month, I do appreciate her being here. So big thank you to Nyla for being here as well. So thanks, Nyla.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I don't even know why I came because you pretty much said everything for me. We got yearbook signing this Friday. Our first graduation supper. Oh my God. This Wednesday. At what time? 6?
6.
6? Thank you. That's for you. It's just that 20 minutes. And then we got our NASA Native American Student Association, Native American graduation supper this Sunday. Just a second for me, come on guys. And then graduation's my 30th, bunch of tears that day. 7th grade orientation is this Thursday. I will be at one of the activities for NASA. So that's gonna be fun. That's all I really have. Like I said, he said most of it for me, so I was just like, why am I I'd rather be napping. I'm real quick for this. But that's all I have. Thank you guys for
Thank you,
having me.
Nyla.
Thank you, Nyla.
Nyla, thank you.
That was Nyla.
I got that. No, I got that.
Mixed messages here.
All right, moving on. We are at elementary principals report. Mrs. Speller.
Good evening. Kind of a hiring update. What we're looking at right now is we have one special ed position open at Hinckley Elementary and nothing for Finlayson. We are looking to hire 2 new AmeriCorps people at Hinckley Elementary and post this report. Finlayson was approved for a reading corps person, so we are currently looking for a reading corps at Finlayson as well. We have hired a early learning corps tutor, which will work with our preschool grades next year, so bringing that back on board for next year. Kind of our section layout, we are decreasing class sizes or class sections across the board, so you can see kind of what we're looking at there. Preschool, we have 3 teachers this year going down to 2. 3-year-olds will be combined with our 4-year-olds, so we're losing some programming there, but we're gonna get creative on ways we can still provide those activities for families. Kindergarten, we're at 3 sections going down to 2. First grade, 4 sections going down to 2. Second grade will remain the same. Third the same. Fourth will remain the same. 5th grade, we're at 3 going to 2, and third we are staying at, 6th grade, we're staying at 3 sections. Our 5th and 6th is kind of going to have a middle school model. We'll have 1 math teacher for both grades. We will have a shared staff between 5th and 6th that will do some science and social study. So look forward to kind of the collaboration between those 5 teachers. We are losing our STEM program right now. We will have 1 Phi-Ed teacher. Contemplated trying to figure out how we could still leave STEM into the rotation, but with 3 sections of specials, our fear they wouldn't get Phi-Ed quite enough. So we'll still dabble in that if we can, but right now it's set up for 3 specials. Special ed at Hinckley Elementary will remain the same, and Finlayson currently will remain the same as it is this year. With some of the cuts that we're making, we'll open up some rooms. We still have some unknowns right now as to how things will be shifting around, so looking at what that will do. I'd like to give our elementary teachers a little heads up because moving rooms is challenging in itself. We'll have a couple open rooms. One of them I would love, I don't know, maybe love, to repurpose as a library. I know all that comes with some monetary impact, but we'll do what we can to make it work. I'd like to spread out 4 through 6 because they're in 4 through 6 title. They're in a pretty small space and they service 3 different groups at one time. And it'd be really cool to have a meeting room where I can meet with my staff instead of stealing the music room all the time, which works. But again, we'll kind of see what some of the things we have in the works, how that works out. Mr. Lattimore touched on orientation for 7th graders or incoming 7th graders. Thanks to Joe for going through all the hard work. One of the big changes this year is they're going to bring them over for lunch because it looks completely different than it does at the elementary. So I thought that was a really cool idea. I think it's a really great opportunity for them to really just be exposed to what opportunities there are at the elementary or the high school. Really cool. Kindergarten graduation is remaining the same. We are going to have it at the Fine Arts Center. We had Finlayson Elementary graduate on Friday after their spring program. So their preschool and their kindergarten graduates went through their ceremony. We will have Hinckley Elementary at the Fine Arts Center on June 4th. Always a fun day in getting families into the building. We're having 6th grade graduation on June 5th. We started that tradition a few years ago. Finlayson chose not to join this year. Trying to get them down here, just they don't want to take that plunge yet, so we'll get them there. But it's always a really fun, like you said, it's a new world coming over to the high school, so it's a fun day to say goodbye and congratulations to them as they leave us and come over to the big bad world on the side of the tracks. Very, very busy time of the year. We have field days going on, field trips going on everywhere. Our teachers are doing a great job of juggling everything. 5th and 6th grade crossing guards go up to Sky Zone tomorrow. 4th grade crossing guards already had their local event, and we'll have the Hinckley Spring Concert coming up on this Friday. So that's what the rest of our year looks like. Any questions for me?
My only question is STEM, Bonnie. Can you touch back on that regarding, is the whole program being cut? Is it going to be incorporated in Fayed with the classroom teacher? Or you're still?
When I met with that staff member, we're gonna focus on Fayed right now. In the past, when we didn't have STEM, Mark
We didn't have STEM last year.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's been hit and miss.
I know.
For a couple of years, whether it be staffing, whether it be like availability. We started off having a little bit of Fayed and a little bit of STEM, but we know that the movement in Fayed is crucial. In the past, when we didn't have STEM, Mark Eves would do some stuff with music and some STEM. I'm assuming this staff member will also embed some of that in there. We thought we could do like a 25-minute, they have 25-minute rotation, so they could do a 15-20-minute Fayed and then a little bit of STEM, but by the time they transition through, so I think we just have to kind of play with it and see what it looks like.
Okay.
That teacher is not opposed, but I don't want to force that down their neck either, prepping for a Fayed
Yeah.
and a STEM as well, but
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Mrs. Scullard? Thank you.
you're welcome.
I guess I do. So, with your sixth graders?
Yep.
Going into seventh grade, have you had any feedback, or has there been a discussion with those sixth grade parents about the JAG Day? Have they had any feedback on that?
No. And I'm guessing that might be just because our sixth grade teachers don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
We had a meeting last Wednesday with all seventh grade teachers, our sixth grade teachers. We met, kind of talked about some things that helped them be successful, shared some of those secrets per se. One thing our sixth grade staff has at Hinckley is they have a remind where everybody signed up, and we just turned that right over to the high school, so they could use that to reach out about that JAG Day. Or maybe if Mr. Lattimore could put something together, like this is what the first day of school looks like, and our sixth grade teachers could share that out. Forward all questions to you, just because my teachers wouldn't know, but that's a really good idea, is to just get some feelers out there, of like, this is what our first day looks like, and it's to help your kids transition and be successful.
And I think they do talk about that during orientation, during open house orientation.
We'll talk about it this week too. Because I have to talk, or I get to talk during that time too, so, yeah.
But I
We'll
think
talk about it first.
it's a good idea to send it out too,
Yeah.
on that remind. That way the parents get it versus just giving it to an 11 and 12-year-old. I don't know what could go wrong, but I'm just saying. It might be a good idea to put it in the parents' hands.
But yeah.
Usually they come with them on orientation
Yeah.
For,
Right.
yeah,
for a while,
August.
for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, for the whole time, for that 3 hours, they
Yeah.
usually,
Parents are there.
yeah, get to walk around.
All right, we're gonna move on to community ed.
Thank you, Ms. Starley. Been a busy couple months in community ed as well. We had 157 at our father-daughter dance, so that number's come back. You know, it was dipping a little bit after COVID and we had to take a little break there, but that's come back over the last few years. As the superintendent had mentioned, the senior dinner is Wednesday night, so hopefully we'll see you all there. I know the number on your agenda says 98, 36 students, but I believe our current count was 149 at last count, so that's strong numbers. And I know Pam and Jill have both been working really hard on that, just trying to get the word out there to get the seniors coming. We've seen a little bit of a dip. I reported on this last year, but we've seen a little bit of a dip on who comes out to the senior dinner, and hopefully that trend will turn too, so. I believe we had one more for our WSI class. I believe we had 5. And then we have another lifeguard class coming up in June. So strong, it's nice to get those young people certified. Summer rec brochures went out last week. There's quite a few different offerings for our young people. And then we did write an East Central Regional Arts Grant. They reviewed it very recently, and we do have approval. So we are looking at going to the Chanhassen next March, and I ran this by Mr. Lattimore. That will include 10 students as well, too. So 10 students and then community members, so that should be a nice outing. Again, I can't say it enough, senior dinner is coming up May 14th. We've had 2 donations from the Finlayson Lions Club. $900 to support Finlayson Elementary swimming. And then also the Finlayson Lions Club has donated $2,050 to our senior dinner. So we will be having a steak and lobster dinner. No, I'm just kidding. But still come. Yeah. So, any thoughts, questions?
Thank you for applying for that arts grant. I think that's a great addition for our community for the
Yeah.
Chanhassen Dinner Theater in March of next year.
I think it'll be great. Was just notified the ticket prices went up. So I think it's gonna have to be $38 a ticket, but that is still a steal.
It sure
compared
is.
to- Yeah, and that includes the trip down there, the dinner, the theater, and then having the young people there, I think it's just a plus. So,
Absolutely,
Yeah.
thank you.
thank you for the encouragement to do that.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Becky? All right, thank you. Next up is counseling, special services.
I can start. We are seeing at the high school, still lots of mental health needs. We're seeing an increase of students needing 504s or special help with some of the stress and to express themselves. We're going to be publishing a book for our students who have been in Poetry Lab this year and last year with their poems. We had Change Outcome come in to talk to our 10th through 12th graders to talk about substance use. Love is Not a Number, who is through Mille Lacs Band, is coming in and speaking to our 10th grade class, health class, about healthy relationships. And then me and Katie went out to Duluth for the Children's Mental Health Conference, and we found a bunch of great resources that we keep on bringing back and bugging Mr. Lattimore about. We've already had a couple meetings about it. And in regards to outreach services, we have TSA still here at the building. Mille Lacs Band will come in with therapy as well, and then Portages is here in the building. I'm always reaching out to other providers and seeing if they want to come in to provide any mental health services as well.
Ms. Schoberg, do you want to add from the HES perspective?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Good evening, everyone. From Hinckley Elementary, we are offering the social emotional learning for all grade levels. With the mental health services, TSA is no longer having I shouldn't say no longer having a provider, but there is not a provider available in our school. There is a position open, but unfortunately it's a position that's difficult to fill. We have one student that is currently attending the day treatment program at TSA and 2 that were recently discharged. Our provider from Nystrom and Associates was seeing 27 kids between Hinckley Elementary and Finlayson, and unfortunately that provider is leaving at the end of the year. She will continue to see 4 students that are 6th graders. She'll meet with them through telehealth over the summer months. So we will be working on transitioning those other students to be able to meet with other providers in the area. We have Portages that is coming in and seeing kids. It looks like they have 2 that they're currently seeing from the elementary. Canvas Health, we have crisis services that will utilize their services for any of the students that may be in a mental health crisis. For our safety patrol program, we have 69 students that are involved in the program this year. They have raised, coming over from last year's budget into but their main fundraiser that they use would be selling candy bars. So there's a little bit over $7,000 in the budget for that group to be able to order any additional equipment and funding their field trips that they're going on. So in the 4th grade group, there are 27 safety patrols, and we just, like Bonnie had mentioned, they just had their field trip last week. And then the 5th and 6th graders, there are 21 5th grade students that are in crossing guard, and in 6th grade there's 21 as well. So tomorrow we'll be going up to Duluth to the trampoline park. And then with Lunch Bunch, we are offering at group, it's 2 groups per grade, so there's 14 groups that are running, and we will be finishing up the 2nd round of students within the next 2 weeks. And I think that's all that I have from the elementary level.
Does anybody have any questions for Corinne or Miss Mallory? The only question I have is, will Nystrom and Associates still provide a provider next year, or they're totally done?
They're gonna look for somebody. It just depends if they can hire somebody. We are gonna be talking to Portages to see if we can get another mental health coach and a therapist over at the elementary as well. So those are just conversations that are still being right now.
When we met with Nystrom's last Monday, They had 2 that applied, but they're not going to hire until August. So it makes it a little more challenging because they don't want them to hire now, and people that are hired, they want to work right away. So they're hoping that they'll have somebody by the time August rolls around, but no guarantees, so we're hoping.
And at the high school, TSA will be looking for a new person. That person took a job in a different district, so the high school will be looking from someone, or TSA will be looking for someone to replace that individual as well.
But TSA has been looking since last October for us.
Correct.
2-year hunt.
Okay.
Yeah, it is tough.
Does anybody have any other questions for our counselors? All right, thank you both. We're gonna move on to, well, everybody can see professional development is a written report, curriculum. If you have any questions, email them to Brian or to Jonathan or both. Next up is board committees. Does anybody wish to discuss their board committees they've been on the past month? I guess I'll go first. I was in a meet and confer meeting, and we talked about a lot of things. We continued to meet. I think we've met 4 times this school year. We talked about behaviors and the consistency with behaviors. We talked about attendance and tardies. We've talked about some handbook changes. We've also talked about a reflection room and what that looks like this year, what it might look like next year. We've talked about the need for our para staffing, which has, we've had a need for paras all school year. I think that's been for the past 4 years. We also talked about some instruction time concerns. We went over some different advertising for job openings and positions within our district. And we also spoke about the amount of tardies, and I think it's ongoing conversations that Mr. Masterson and some school board members and Mr. Lattimore and a group of teachers who have been willing to come and be pretty honest. So I would like to say we're making progress, but I think there's still work to do. Manager negotiations, you guys all saw that. That's all I have. Does anybody else wish to speak?
Well, I think was just about technology usage, and so that's not very interesting.
Come
Sorry about that.
Busted. All right, there's no communications for the month as of now. And we're gonna move on to budget discussion, unfinished business.
You can see where our expenses were as of April 30th compared to where we are in the fiscal year. We continue to be at least under percentage where we are during the school year, which I feel like I say this every month. It's not a perfect picture of how we're going to end, but our budget, our spending is coming along as predicted, if not a little bit less. I have been asked by a few, as these continue to come out each month, why. The biggest reason is we haven't been able to hire as many staff as we had hoped. So that there are certainly other things that come into that, but staffing is the biggest reason why our spending isn't at that 83%. Not that 83% is the perfect mark, but that is why we're under budget. I've also been asked, well, what happens at the end of June if we come in under budget? Where does that money go? That money goes back into the general fund or into the fund balance. So that was one of the reasons as we looked to, when we did the audit a few months ago, why our audit was a little higher than we thought. Last year, we also ended up underspending what we had predicted, And again, last year was mostly due to staffing, not able to hire all our positions. So we're doing well with about a month and a half left of the fiscal year as we're setting up our budget heading into next year. Speaking of our budget as we're heading into next year, I'm really waiting on the state to finalize where they're at. The state legislation is supposed to be done next Monday, a week from today. Projections are that they will not be. We'll see what happens this week, but I still have yet to see the full House bill, education bill released. I believe that's still in committee, so we'll see where the House goes, and once the House approves theirs, the House and Senate come together to finalize what the state budget will be. If the state is not done, they don't have to be done by next Monday, but if they continue to kind of push that off, we may have to look into June to have a second special June board meeting. As of today, I plan to have our budget done by that June, our regular June board meeting, but if the state's not done, I won't be able to do that. There's still a lot of big ticket items that we're watching to see how that will impact schools. You can see our enrollment for May as of May 1st, which is at 844. In April, what I had told the board is 854 we were at. So we have lost 10 students. I did ask our enrollment to pull some of the Ys. So the numbers don't come perfectly because we've also had kids enroll into the district in the last month. So I'll project we've had more kids leave than the 10, but we've gained some kids. So it stays net 10, but ELC, we had 1 student graduate. Hinckley Elementary, in the month, we had 9 students leave. 3 were due to truancy issues, which parents decided to pull their students out of the school. We had 2 who went homeschool. What I know of that is 1, it sounds like, was for a medical situation. 2 moved completely out of the state. 2, the county pulled the student to a magnet school. The high school, we had lost 11. 2 went to homeschool. 1 of those 2 was always homeschooled, but was here enrolled for 1 hour, driver's education only. That class ended, so they're no longer enrolled. They just went back to full-time homeschool. 5 students went to Empower Learning Center. 1 student left for discipline reasons. 1 student left for medical reasons. 1 student left, they unenrolled from the high school, but enrolled in adult basic education. And the last student moved with family to Duluth. So that's kind of how that breakdown of enrollment went in the last month. Questions on any of that?
Brian, can you help me understand, how does that work with the county pulling a student? How does that work? I don't understand what that means.
It may be, there's many reasons, and I'm trying to pick my words because I don't have permission to share all that. It could be,
you don't have to.
it could be many different things from personal, medical, there's a lot of things that a county gets involved on.
Do you know what school district they went to?
I do, but I don't know that I can share that under the circumstances.
Sure. With regard to the homeschoolers, we lost 4 to homeschool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you reach out to them and ask them why they're choosing to do homeschooling, or you just kind of stay away from doing that?
I did at the beginning of the school year. I have not with these 4. Like I said, 1 of them I know was for medical. 1 was, they were always homeschooled, so I may have reached out to them earlier. I can go back and check, but the other 2 I don't know.
And those ones that are truancy, I mean, we work with those families, we set up meetings, we have, just see what the barriers are to getting them to school. And sometimes they just don't want to follow our guidelines, and they just opt to homeschool. It's unfortunate, but like.
Right.
But even in the month of, even now May, we've had students who drop, students who enroll. We will continue to see enrollment, probably plus and minus throughout the month, which is, it's always been weird for me to think of in the month of May we're switching schools, but it is very much the norm for our school district to still have changes in enrollment even in the month of May.
You had sent out some data, I don't know, a few months ago about like our local schools and how their enrollments really adjust and change. And I was really kind of surprised myself. And I also noticed going north on the freeway that, I can't remember if it's before Sandstone, that there was a billboard for Carleton schools.
For 4 days.
For 4-day a
Yeah.
week.
I was really surprised to see
I
that.
think there's one even south of here
Is there?
for
Yeah, okay.
Carleton.
I was surprised to see that, you know, because Carleton's way away, ways away. That they're looking, obviously there's some enrollment issues there, they're advertising with billboard.
They must be having some budgetary problems to go along with their enrollment issues, because if they're going to a four-day school week, that tells me that they're trying to save money.
Well, North Branch, I believe at one period was 4 days, Ogilvy was 4 days a week, I mean, there's other schools.
And I believe
that have
Carleton was more, they wanted to provide an alternative, more for families to have a mental health or appointments, or it was more trying to be family centered, not, I don't, maybe it was budgetary too, but they were also trying to do something different from their neighbors to try to attract people that way. So I'm certain there probably was some monetary, budgetary reasons, but what they put out was an alternative or something different from, because there's so many schools right in that area with Carleton, Renshaw,
I don't think it
Esco.
started out as, but now I think it is, because I was on a call last week or the week before, and the chair from Carleton was on there, and she was kind of touching on that, how they're losing students north.
To Esco.
Because of programming, and they already co-op their sports with Renshaw now.
Yeah.
So I think it was some of that too.
Okay.
But it could be, but I don't think that's why they went to the 4-day. I think they went to the 4-day and then have lost some enrollment.
And then we're not gonna have another data point for June 1, right?
I generally don't, I mean, if the board would like me to, I can share in June what our enrollment is for those 5 days. I can certainly do that, that's not hard to get.
As far as budgeting goes, are you just gonna take the main number then as the starting point for next year's?
I have budgeted for 827 students for next year at this point. Being conservative, also trying, if this continues to happen, that we have that little bit of cushion. So as I'm building it right now, based on our enrollment projections, birth rates, we're at 827 for next year.
I do think it's still important when we lose a student to understand or to know the why, or to call and ask the questions. I think that's just good practice. So I appreciate the information that we get when we do lose so many.
Otherwise, that's what I had in that first budget, unfinished business.
All right, then we're gonna move on to the 2 policies for reapproval. First one.
Oh, go ahead. Just looking for approval for electronic signatures, and what our policy currently is called media selection, but MSBA has come out with one, so it'll change to 606.5 library materials. And these were, the library materials one was pulled right from MSBA.
Does anybody have any questions regarding those 2 policies? Does anybody have any issues with approving them together? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve 730 electronic signatures and media selection, the library materials.
I'll move that.
There's a motion and there's a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the Quebec lease.
Looking for approval, reapproval of the Quebec lease. Terms are the same. Last time the terms were changed was 2 school years ago. Spoke with Mr. Quebec, he's happy with the terms, he's already come in and signed. So looking for permission or approval to renew, continue our Quebec lease.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I got a question for Brian. Did you find out from Danny if he would agree to take the brush down?
I didn't have a chance to call him today.
Okay.
I will do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Toby, did you have a question?
Right, so this property that the school's leasing to Danny Quebec, this is owned by the school district, right?
Correct.
And the taxes are $1,500,
A little bit more, yeah.
but we're accepting to take an $800 loss on the taxes. I don't feel that's in the best interest of our school district, and I think there could be some ethical concerns regarding not putting this land up for bid to the highest bidder to use for agricultural purposes. I feel we should put it up for a bid, and Mr. Quebec could submit his bid, whatever he feels, and if he feels 700 works for him, hypothetically, he could submit that as a bid, and then if he's the highest bidder, then he would have access to that property agriculturally. But I think it should be open to the highest bidder. Maybe there's another farmer locally who would be willing to pay more than that amount, and we're having some very difficult times financially in our school district. And I just feel like I see some ethical concerns by just not making it out to be a public bid to the highest bidder. And I feel that's underscored since we're taking a $800 loss on the taxes. That's kind of what brought it to my attention.
Has it ever been brought to your attention?
We talked about it 2 years ago. I think at that time we took 5 or 6. I'd have to go back and look. We've never gotten the full amount that I'm aware of. Leo, maybe you know a little better. I think it's always been roughly half, give or take.
It's not really losing because we have the land. It's not turning into brush and it's not just getting overgrown. Somebody's basically maintaining it for us. So I see it as a gain of $700. We have the land. I mean, if we want to talk about selling the land, that's one thing, but do we have, is there any legalities as far as, do we have to put it up for bids or he's just always done it? So
It's always been done. That's a good question.
No, I know he's always been doing it, but is it?
Is there a minimum where you have to put something up to bid for school districts?
Yeah, I don't think it's 7, I don't think it's 50, I'd have to look, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I think 1,500 is under the, whatever the minimum is.
Are we breaching Minnesota statute 123 Bravo.52?
What's the statute?
123 B as in Bravo .52.
I would have to look, I'm not aware.
I believe he's been a really good renter over the years. My only concern is the brush growing up, and all it is pasture. It's not agricultural land. The city owns that, right?
Correct.
I guess before I vote, I would like to know if there's ethical concerns. I would like to know what the minimum is.
To go out for bid.
Yes. Just to be sure we are not, so Toby, do you want to make a motion to table it till the June board meeting? Till we have those answers?
I would like to make a motion that we put this out to bid because, you know, the farmers want to do what they want to do agriculturally, and I think if we delay unnecessarily, I'd say let's put it out for bid. I'd make a motion to put this up for bid, to use the land agriculturally for 1 year, and the highest bidder gets to do his agricultural deeds on the land. That's what I would make a motion for. Farmers want to plow their field and get their crops in.
Has it ever been approached for him to at least pay the rate of taxes?
Not to my
Not
knowledge.
while I've been superintendent.
If we delay it a month, if they use it for pasture, we might not get any bids and Danny might go some other place, I don't know. Because I'm guessing that's at least half his pasture right now, the school property.
And when does the current lease expire?
August, I think is when it
Not
starts.
till August.
Oh, okay, so it would be,
Yeah, it started.
Or July 31st.
July 31st.
So can I make a motion to table it?
Have a motion
You
already.
had-
We have a motion. Is there a second?
So can I just ask a question? So Danny currently has it until when?
July 31st.
Okay, so I see that as another hindrance. I mean, middle of the growing season? I think it should be like from growing season to growing season, not in the middle of the growing season.
Well, we
It's just
can't
a
change it
pasture,
now.
Right, it's
It-
not a,
It's just
It's not-
pasture.
it's a
It's a
pasture,
pasture.
it's not,
Okay,
so it's not,
not tillable acres.
yeah.
No.
okay.
And we can certainly look at that next, but not, we can't change what we already have. So it goes until July 31st.
Okay, I'd still maintain my motion. Put it out for the highest bidder.
Is there a second? Motion fails.
Can I make a motion to table it till Brian has more answers next month?
So there's a motion on the table to table the Quebec lease until the June board meeting. Is
I'll
there a
second
second?
that one.
There's a second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And I'm staying.
Okay. We'll do roll call because Toby's gonna abstain.
Okay.
Leo,
Yes.
Janelle,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Dave,
Yeah.
Toby,
Abstaining.
Angela,
Yes.
Jody, yes. Motion passes 6. I don't know what to do if I'm abstaining, I don't know if we've had one. 6-1.
Brian, could I make a suggestion, since we are tabling this till next month? Is there any chance we could somehow get this on a timeline where it's just year to year, like, so it's not in the middle of July? So if one farmer wants to use it for whatever purpose, he's got it from spring until fall. Instead of just the middle of the summer, just really, I feel that's an inconvenient date.
I can look into that.
All right, next up is Jaguar Pride. Does anybody have any additions to Jag Pride? Moving on to graduation data.
MDE released our graduation data and the state's graduation data for 2024. Statewide, the graduation rate was at 84.2. So it is up slightly, not down slightly, from last year. Last year, like I said, the state was at 83.3. So I ran in this first category what Hinckley-Finlayson High School's numbers were in 2024. I compared it to our numbers from last year, 2023, 2 years ago. And then I also pulled East Central's, Pine City's, Mora's, and Willow River, those who we share borders with, close competition with. And then I can also compare the numbers to the state. So you can see in yellow where our numbers were for the class of 2024 as it compares to our neighbors and the state. I will note special education is the number that at least popped out to me the first, when I first looked at these, being at 40%. That is mostly because our special ed students, many of them have the option to go on to the Pine County Transition Program. So they do not take their diploma when they do that. And we had 33% of last year's graduating class continue their education. So they are still enrolled in school, they're still enrolled. That would show up on future 5- and 6-year graduation rates. But for us, it looks like a big hit. And, I had one board member ask, why is that different than last year? It kind of depends on who's graduating, what area of special ed they graduate from, as some areas have a more likelihood of going to the transition program, so I haven't dove that deep into the who's, but the biggest reason special ed dropped was because many of them, 33% of them, are continuing their education. But were there any questions, at least on our numbers compared to our neighbors or to the state? Or any feedback, anything more I could find or answer on those topics? Because then what I also did in the next category is compared to school districts that look similar to us, and by look similar, I pulled mostly Native American population and free and reduced population. So that is why I compared our numbers to these schools, and it's what we've historically compared to. So you can see our Native American percentage district or high school wide, not district wide. This is just for the high school, our free and reduced percentage for the high school, and how that compares to some other school districts who have similar demographics. Again, our special ed number was the most concerning to me, but I think it's also good that those kids are able to continue their education as they transition into adult. But any questions on any of this graduation data?
We know what the graduating rate for this year is gonna be, or is it too early to tell yet?
It's too early. Mr. Lattimore may know a little better how many.
I know 4, I think, students who will not be graduating out of a class of, what do we have, 60 something. And I think we have maybe around that amount that are gonna transition into the PCTP, so our transition program, so maybe 8 to 12-ish, depending on how many go to the transition program.
Thank you.
So that would be almost 20% if it's 12.
If we got that high, yeah. I'm just trying to think of our numbers. I've heard of 4 so far.
Are any of them going over to Empower?
That's the other thing I'm trying to think of, who's going over there too.
Because if they go to Empower, that can also maybe hurt our 4-year graduation rate, but it would show up as a positive in the 5 and 6-year graduation rate. As they're still there, they're still enrolled, we're still getting funding. They just don't show up in the 4-year graduation data. And that's all I pulled. If the board would like to see 5, 6, 7-year graduation rate, I could do that. I simply just pulled 4-year graduation rate.
Should say 2 that I know for sure that are going to transition, so it went high just because. So I know 2 for sure.
All right. Committee list.
Just as we're getting to July, when the board will look at our committees, board committees, just wondering if you'd like to do anything different with restructuring, as we have about a month and a half or so, 2 months. We typically have 2 members on a committee. We have a couple that have more than that, but just looking for any changes you'd like me to look at. Maybe you don't have any, but anything you'd like me to look into before we get to July when we reapprove board committees.
If there are no questions, we will continue on. Scred programming lease.
Looking for approval, reapproval of our Pine County Transition Program lease. This is a lease, it is a Scred program, so we lease portion of our high school to Scred. You can see the terms in here where they pay us to use the spaces that the Pine County Transition Program is using. The terms are the exact same the board approved last year, so looking for approval to approve the Scred lease so they will continue to help fund our Pine County Transition Program, or at least pay the rent for their program.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. So with this lease agreement, are we covering all of our costs, or are we taking a loss on this?
After the lease for the rooms, Pine City, East Central, Hinckley-Finlayson divide the rest of the costs in third, because it's a shared program. we do cover our cost of that program between those 3 districts.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is our first read of policy number 713, bus driver evaluation.
I believe this is the last one, at least in my 3 years, that we haven't looked at. Just this policy hasn't been reviewed by the board since 2015. So just, it is not an MSBA policy, it's a local policy we have. So just looking for initial feedback as Bruce Beckman and I go through any potential changes for next month.
Since we had just a pretty significant bus, I don't know what you want to call it,
Accident.
accident?
Event.
Event. Do we want to ask bus drivers any questions regarding the policy?
We can do that.
All right, so now we're gonna start on our resolutions. First resolution is,
So with the bus issue, we had a lot of generous people come out, or groups of people come out and help support. First is Walmart. They are donating, I believe, well, I have it here, so let me get it up. $1,400 to help with the loss of the track equipment. So looking for approval to accept Walmart's donation of $1,400.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
there's a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Leo, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, is our insurance gonna cover any of that track loss?
Yes,
Okay.
we haven't heard how much or what dollar amount, but yes,
Okay.
the insurance company will, we've submitted that and we've submitted the bus as well.
Okay. Was there any students that lost personal stuff that will be covered?
Not that I'm aware of, other than a
Okay.
bubbler.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And we don't know what the bus is gonna be either.
We don't,
Okay.
we don't.
All right, next up is a donation from Jaguar Nation.
Jaguar Nation also donated to help cover costs of the lost track equipment. So I'm looking for approval to accept Jaguar Nation's donation, which I need to change in here from Walmart to Jaguar Nation, in the amount of $200.
Is there a motion to accept the donated funds?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next up is the Mora Track and Field Program donation.
So Mora Track and Field also reached out and asked how they could help. So I'm looking for approval for the Mora Track and Field donation for lost track equipment of $417.01.
That says Walmart too.
Yep, I'm fixing it right
Okay.
now.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next up is another donation from Jaguar Nation.
Jaguar Nation also donated towards our angling program, and this says Walmart too, so I apologize. They donated $200 towards our angling program to do some extra things outside the budget. So looking for approval of $200 towards the angling program from Jaguar Nation.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Next up is another donation from the Hinckley Lions.
It's from the Hinckley Lions in the amount of $275, which will help cover costs for buying t-shirts for the incoming kindergarten class. So looking for approval of $275 from the Hinckley Lions.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We are now at the end of our agenda. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?